True healing and freedom from the effects of unwanted sexual behavior is possible. But for so many, the path has been littered with failed attempts, short-term solutions that don't work, and tons of shame carried the entire way.
I knew Jesus was calling me into the light because it's better in the light. However, I was afraid of the people that were out there in the light.
If you're battling something like an addiction to pornography and you don't confess that to another person, you don't confess it to the Lord, then shame grows.
So many of us live lives running from our shame. We don't turn and face those things.
There are men and women sitting in our churches that have pain and secrets and they feel like they can't tell anybody.
We know the feeling of powerlessness that sets in when you promised you'd never go back to that old behavior, but you found yourself there again.
That's it. I did it. It's gone. Only to go back to it. It didn't last long.
I was binge purging between being at church 3 times a week and serving on the women's team and the worship team, and then going out on weekends and hooking up with somebody.
I would experience seasons of relative freedom, maybe 3 or 4 months at a time without acting out. But even though we had a great relationship, both physically and emotionally, I would find myself stumbling back into the same predictable pattern.
We know the feelings of betrayal and hopelessness that overpowers our ability to function day to day.
Because of the trauma that I was experiencing in my first marriage, my brain was grasping for any amount of control that it could have because of the lies that I was believing.
I was so much in pain, I just wanted him away from me.
I was just mostly in shock.
People would say, "Are you sure you're trusting? Are you sure you're praying?" It would make me frustrated.
But we believe that this course is the first step toward breaking free and finally feeling hope and confidence that change is possible.
And that's why we're so excited about this course. When you really get under the surface of our sexual issues, we find that we are all so similar as human beings. So no matter what your personal struggle is or what brought you here, I believe this journey together will be life-changing.
Because if we want to find lifelong healing, it's going to take an understanding of both. It's going to take an understanding of what's happening in our brain that contributes to our behavior, but also the fact that we need the Holy Spirit in our lives that is going to be active in our healing.
Why I stopped and started to experience sobriety and freedom, then the truth of who God sees me as his loved son who he delights in, no matter what, started to be able to sink in.
This course will combine biblical truth with practical tools to create lifelong change. It's not just about trying harder to stop unwanted behavior. It's about being intentional, going to the source of struggles, and allowing the Lord to heal them. We know this because each of us in this course has experienced this firsthand. And we've seen hundreds of thousands of other men and women break free, heal their relationships, and really get their lives back.
Hello. For those of you that don't know us, this is Michele, and this is my husband, Tom Weaver. This program was designed for churches. So it's for ages 16 with the parent and up, every one of you sitting here. This affects men and women and families. In the first session, we look at the problem of sexual brokenness in our world and in the church. We will see that many men and women end up in a place very different than expected, but we will see the path to freedom might also look different than we might expect. A little bit about the second one. There's actually 8 weeks. The second one is, in this session, we are going to look at the culture we live in, our family, our church, and the world around us. Specifically, we're looking at the culture when it comes to sexuality, sexual brokenness, and how it can lead us into unwanted sexual behavior.
There's so much going on in the world right now today with everything that's coming out in the news, whether it's the governor of New York, whether it's a certain NFL quarterback, and whether it's the tragedy in Atlanta with the shooting. But that's not what this is about. Not everybody is like that. This is for, like Michele said, everybody sitting here in these seats today. These are for people that if you're not struggling, is for you to be able to help somebody who is, because the statistics are overwhelming that you will know somebody if it's not you. So this course is an amazing course for you to get those resources. It talks about grace, and it talks about shame. And this is a shame-free church. We're able to talk about this stuff here. We thank the leadership for allowing us to talk about this stuff here. But this is eroding our families. This is eroding our marriages. It's destroying marriages. It very closely destroyed ours. This is very dear to our heart. Obviously, a lot of people know that. But it's also destroying our young adults and our teenagers. And the access that they have. I don't want to be a spoiler for Pastor Rob's sermon, but he talks about the Grammys. and the Grammys and just the things that were going on in that show. It's too extreme to even watch. But it just goes to the seriousness of this. And just a real quick story. Probably by this time now, a friend of mine in a Midwest church, he's a pastor about the size of this church, had to resign and confess to his congregation this morning because of his pornography addiction. So it is serious, and it can take you down a path you don't want to go down. But like Michele said, this course is for everybody, for you to get the tools to help somebody else if it's not you. But please come if you can. We're starting Wednesday, April 14th for 8 consecutive Wednesday nights from 8 to 9:30. We'll do it either by Zoom or fellowship hall. If you want to come in person, that's great. If not, you can come in by Zoom. So we encourage everybody to come. Thanks.